but we'll make a start anyway, eh? Just get things going. So you've started recording, Suzanne?
Yes, I have.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first Featherston Community Board meeting by video conference. This is obviously a new experience for us, so just please bear with us. And hopefully we'll get it running smoothly and get through it as quick as we can, as we do normally. On your minutes there, and I'll just read this out because obviously the participants won't have this, but due to the COVID-19 restrictions, it's not possible for the community board to conduct this meeting with members and public physically present. All participating members count for the purpose of the meeting quorum in accordance with clause 25B of Schedule 7 to the Local Government Act 2002. This meeting will be recorded and made available on the Council's YouTube channel via a link on Council's website. A summary of the meeting will also be made available on Council's website shortly following the meeting in accordance with clause 47A of the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987. So to kick us off tonight, we're going to have a declaration of the elected member. So this evening we welcome our new member, Sophronia Smith. Sophronia, would you like to read the declaration from page 1 of the agenda, please?
Yeah, I'll read that now. I, Sophronia Smith, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the South Wairarapa District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the South Wairarapa District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987. And then it's got an acronym in parentheses, LGOIMA or any other act.
Awesome, thank you. So welcome to the crew. Obviously this will be signed outside of the meeting, so
sure.
That's awesome. Right, so we'll move on to extraordinary business. Do we have any extraordinary business that needs to be added to the agenda? No, all good. Do we have any apologies? I see everyone but Claire is here, and I haven't received an apology from her, so maybe she's having trouble logging in, I'm not sure. I know she had something to do with the
organic week.
The organic week. Yeah.
Mark, if I could, by his absence, he did mention this may happen, but I put an apology in for Harry Wilson, CEO.
Awesome.
He did mention that he may not be able to make it, and it looks like that's happened.
Okay, I move that the apology from Harry is accepted. Do I have a seconder?
Yes, I'll second.
Okay, well, yeah, okay, Sophronia.
Do we just put our hands up? Yep.
Yes. Can we just, when we vote, can we just make a thumbs up?
Okay.
And if we want to ask a question, just put your hand up. And obviously, if you need to speak, just unmute yourself if you've muted. So we've got a mover and a seconder on that. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion's carried. Thank you. Right. Do we have any conflicts of interest? No, no conflicts of interest. Thank you. Any acknowledgements or tributes? Does anyone have any acknowledgements or tributes they'd like to make? Just so you know, this may be a well-known person in your community who has passed away or made a significant achievement. QSM, knighthood, a significant community outcome. Nothing there? No worries, thank you. Righto, public participation. So this evening we have 2 speakers. There's Nick Rilkoff speaking on community safety and crime prevention, and Paul Mason speaking on a partnership with Featherston Community Centre. Just so you know, you'll have 5 minutes each, and that's including time for questions. The host will hold up, or Suzanne it'll be, I think, is going to hold up a finger or a time at 4 minutes, which obviously means you've got a minute to go, and that'll give us time to ask questions. So we've got Nick speaking first. So if you'd like to speak now, Nick, you go for it.
Very much. And everyone. I appreciate the chance to
address you. The purpose of my
Sorry, Nick. Sorry. Can you speak louder or turn your mic up? Or it's quite hard to hear.
turn the volume up. Yes, let's do that. Is that getting better? Is that better?
Not really. It's still quite hard.
Quite hard to hear. Sorry about that. I apologize. These Zoom meetings always have these things. Okay, let's try this. Can you hear me now?
Much better. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right.
All righty. So, kia ora, and thank you very much for the chance to address you this evening. The purpose of my attendance is twofold. To briefly introduce you to the Featherston 2020 Community Patrol reboot, and to signal our wish to be included as a regular agenda item in the community board's meetings. The Featherston Community Patrol started in 2005 and has been through various iterations. I know many of you will have prior knowledge of our journey through the years. We currently have 12 members with 2 others who help out when they can. And I've been involved with the patrol for a year, and I've been the patrol leader since October 2019. The central office of CPNZ is very much helping us in our professionalization as a local community organization, with trained and police vetted patrollers, official t-shirt uniforms, personal protective visibility gear, and ID cards. We have a mandate through our partnership with the police to help increase community safety and support crime prevention. We work very closely with our own local community police liaison officer, that's Sergeant Ian Osland, and we receive regular briefings from Ian and around local areas of concern and local crime trends that we then factor into our patrolling. You might not know what we get up to, so I'll give you a few quick examples. During the dry season recently, we supported community safety by patrolling our local reserves and educating campers on the fire ban provisions and ensuring that the rules were actually kept. At other times, we take less visible actions on patrol. We might close somebody's window if a business leaves it open when they lock up for the night. We check padlocks on gates and report graffiti and vandalism to the council. Our patrol reports are actually shared with the police too, and we note any kind of unusual vehicles or people or activities. And at the time of that patrol, we might not know if what we see is significant. But as some of you may remember, and in fact our very own patrol and somebody on this community board was involved in catching the people who murdered Glenn Jones in 2013 by their awareness of what was going on around them and taking some very important details down. So we're fortunate that at the moment, crime is relatively low, but we do check public buildings and spaces on our rounds, and we also pop up the road to Greytown once in a while when we can, because they don't yet have a patrol to keep an eye on their streets or their railway station. And patrollers with flexibility around when they can volunteer have also been doing some daytime walks, talking to local businesses about their particular security concerns. And recently we did a vehicle safety sweep, leaving information pamphlets on windscreens around town, noting if parked vehicles had valuables left inside that were visible and then advising against that, and pointing out if someone's warrant or rego was expired or coming up to expiry, possibly saving a few locals from tickets, but more importantly, encouraging vehicle safety. So we ran a Safer Plates Day in February. Some of you may have taken advantage of that in the supermarket car park, installing theft deterrent screws on car number plates. And we're currently in touch with the Wellington Free Ambulance about their Wire Up a Heartbeat project. We're exploring training for our members and access to a local AED device in order to serve as a community response group to Featherston cardiac arrests, because unfortunately we have very poor health outcomes in heart attacks in the community. As a patrol, we have a lot of ideas for supporting community safety and crime prevention and a lot more activities, but at the moment we're focused primarily on growing our membership in order to increase the number of patrols we can carry out and the public safety events that we can conduct. We couldn't do our actual work without sponsorship from local businesses. We have J&R Auto keeping our vehicles safe and running, and Adamson's are continuously and extremely generous with petrol vouchers and more recently hand sanitizer so we can stay safe at level 2. We are fundraising for community events and have a big goal in the next 12 months of upgrading our vehicle more suited to our rural conditions. And we'll be following the council's grant application process for that in the coming weeks. To close, I also want you to know that you have a willing and ready volunteer pool here who are police vetted and very happy to be involved in local events. We were going to be helping with the Anzac Day Parade before that was cancelled because of lockdown. I hope you'll be open to regular updates from the patrol going forward, as we are open to working with you to keep Featherston safe. And once again, thank you for allowing me to speak. If anybody has any questions, I'm here.
Does anyone have any questions for Nick?
Nick, if I could, me and Alex Spain here. What is the age and condition of the current vehicle that you have?
The age is a really good one, and in fact, I'm not 100% sure. I think it's a 2012. It's a Toyota Ist. It's a very small car, and it's in good condition. It's only got 14,000 kilometers on the clock because we don't use it that much. We have a very small patrolling area, so the condition is relatively reasonable, and we expect to get some resources, money back if we traded it in.
Yeah, Ross.
Hi, Nick. What sort of support do you want from, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, lovely. What sort of support would you like from the community board and the council in particular or in general?
Well, it's an interesting question because we do actually spend far too much of our time actually trying to fundraise at the moment. So I think what we're looking for potentially is support with a new vehicle in the coming years, but also maybe just some contributions to our running costs. But at the moment, it's quite modest, and we're just, we're open, but we're looking at putting in some form of a proposal in the next few weeks or months.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, if that's us, guys. Thanks for that, Nick. Yeah, look, definitely something that is very important to the community and something we need to work on. So we'll definitely be in touch with talking with you further on that. So Paul, if you'd like to go now, I understand yours is quite a big what you want to talk about, so you may allow a little bit extra time for this. So if you'd like to go ahead, Paul.
Just before we start, Mark,
yes, sorry.
I potentially have a conflict of interest here in that Paul and I have had discussions about the legal ramifications of the agreement. So I will probably step out of this one.
Okay, can we just go back, Suzanne, and just note that Ross may have a conflict of interest on this, please?
Yes, I've noted.
Oh, sorry, Steph. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, Paul. Paul, you need to unmute. Can you hear us, Paul? No, can't hear him. Can anybody hear Paul? No? Paul, can you give us a thumbs up if you can hear us? If you can hear me? No.
How about that?
Yep, that's us. That's us.
Awesome.
Thank
Technology,
you.
what a wonderful thing.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. Well, this is about a proposal about a possible partnership between the community centre and the district council. Perhaps a little brief rundown. The community centre has been operating in Featherston for about 28 years now. The building was bought in 1992 by a group of people who raised the funds by running housing nights, and they set up the Featherston Community Centre Trust. And it served the community centre well since then. Now, it's been through some peaks and troughs, I understand, over the years, but now we're in good financial health and fine financial fettle, we might say, with a board of trustees who are committed to its future. The COVID-19 crisis will no doubt have some effect on us, but I believe we will weather the storm. We've recently worked with the Featherston Medical Centre to enable them to set up their new premises on our boundary, sharing our car park, and this has given us a unique opportunity to expand the services we have available and the development of something we might call a wellness hub. Nice euphemism. Already we host a wide range of groups and services, including drug and addiction counsellors, family counsellors, psychologists, child and adolescent therapists, genetic counselling services, legal advice, mediation, employment, a huge range of life skills and support. Many of them need a high level of privacy, which currently we're struggling to provide. And so we've been looking into ways that we might address that by beefing up the insulation between the rooms. Of course, the problem we have is how do we pay for all that? The car park, for instance, now that we're coupled with the medical centre, needs to be made more safe and have a better surface on it. Where does the money come from? So we've weighed up a number of options on how we might raise the standard of the facilities in a short period of time. And it's been suggested that upgrading the services used so heavily by a broad range of Featherston's people might present a good use of the funds made available by the sale of the property on Fitzherbert Street. But we understand that the council probably would be hard pressed to justify a significant investment in someone else's property. We therefore propose that the Featherston Community Centre Trust gift the property to the District Council in exchange for the application of significant funds to realise the upgrades and ongoing maintenance required to make the centre as successful and viable as it needs to be through the future. Of course, we'd expect to remain the long-term tenants and with a relationship that reflects the partnership that would then exist between our two entities. Any questions, gentlemen and lady? No, you're not asking questions, Nick.
No, I guess, and I think we've spoken about this on different occasions, you know, with different members of either the council or the other community board members. I think it is a good idea. I think it could be something that would definitely work. And now that the Featherston Featherston Medical Centre is as close as it is, you're right, Paul. It is an ideal sort of hub for all the services that are available and those that we'd like to actually bring in there. So obviously, it is something we'd need to discuss as a board in a bit more depth, and also with the money from the shingle pit. Is something that needs to be discussed and worked through with community, because that was part of the agreement when that was done. So I think it's definitely a positive step in the right direction. Anyone else want to ask a question? Or Ross? Yeah.
It's just a comment, folks, and notwithstanding my slight conflict, I think this proposal has a huge merit. And it would be good if we could receive something in a concrete form of a concrete proposal that the community board can recommend to council for uplift. Now, I realise there are financially straitened times facing us all, and the council is hard pressed for funds all round. But Mark, you have mentioned the 57 Fitzherbert funds, which the net proceeds will be applied in town. Now, there'll be many claimants on that, but this is well worth serious consideration. So as a board, I think we need to turn our minds to it.
Absolutely. Yes, Garrick?
Yeah, supporting what Ross is saying, I really would like some more information. When we talk about maintenance, I've got no idea what sort of money we're talking about. The sale of the Fitzherbert property, my understanding was that those funds have to fulfil certain requirements, and I'd like to actually just go back and see what they were from that previous council discussion.
Yeah.
It's been raised. I'm not sure, Paul, what the conditions were on that. And in terms of the ongoing tenancy, I'm assuming that tenancy stays with the community centre, but there's obviously some relationship with the medical centre. I'm not quite sure how that works either. Whether the income from there is that offset against the community centre. So look, taking Ross's point, and the other thing, could we actually, I don't know if Ross has got time or I've got time, but could we not involve some of the council officers in this discussion, just to give us some number crunching? That would be very helpful to me, because we are the people at the end of the day. Look, I'm in favour of the idea, but I'd like to see the numbers and how it would actually crunch out. So that's my position. Thank you.
Definitely. All right, nothing. Alex?
If I could make a comment on that, Garrick's comment. Certainly, I think a proposal put forward to council for council officers to consider and do due diligence on it would make sense for prior to going to as a recommendation through to council. That way, you've got time to have a chat with Karen and Bryce Neems and the other council officers who would be involved in this, and just to make sure that everything tick boxes. But from a personal point of view, the loss of the land in Fitzherbert Street in this very sensible approach is replaced by another community asset. So I just think it has marvellous synergy.
Awesome, thank you.
So who would I send? I see the proposal to Steph in the first instance, but who would I send it to now might be a more direct route.
Would that go back to Steph?
I think this. Apologies.
Ross?
This is something, Paul, you've presented to the community board. I think the community board should receive your proposal. Perhaps we have to workshop it, but we certainly want to put it forward to council in parallel. Alex, do you agree with that process?
I think that would work quite well. The community board could recommend that the proposal, if it's as Paul Mason has described, be received and forwarded immediately through to council officers for comment, and to be tabled at the next council meeting. I'm just I might have to check with Karen on that one, on whether we're following due process, or it needs to come back to the community board for a formal recommendation once the actual substance of the proposal has been received.
Yes, I think just continue to send the proposal to Steph, and then we can take a look at it from there and provide any further advice.
Thank you.
Well, good. Okay, thank you for that, Paul. That'll be followed up once it comes through again, and work out who's going to deal with it from here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
So moving forward, we've got action from public participation, as there's no item relating to community safety and crime prevention on the agenda. No decisions can be made on the matters raised by Nick. So there's no item relating to the partnership with the Featherston Community Centre raised by Paul. So we will move on into community board minutes.
Mark, could I note that Claire joined the meeting at 7:23? Yeah.
Yes.
Apologies for lateness.
Thanks, Claire. Okay, right. So do we have any corrections to the minutes from our meeting on the 25th of February? No. Do I have a mover for the minutes on the Featherston 25th of February confirmed as true and correct? Garrett moves that. Do we have a seconder, please? Ross, seconder. So I'm about to call for a verbal vote for it. Please turn your mics on. All those in favour say aye.
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 Those against? No. Okay, the motion's carried. Thank you.
Aye.
So Chief Executive report. Sorry, Chief Executive and staff reports. 9.1 is an extraordinary vacancy. We're now considering report 9.1, the Featherston Community Board extraordinary vacancy report on pages 7 to 13 of the agenda. Do I have a mover to receive the report?
I'll receive it.
Clear, thank you. And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Sophronia. So we're about to call a verbal again. All those in favour say aye.
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 Those against? Thank you. Motion's carried. So I'm a mover to note that the Featherston Community Board has an extraordinary vacancy since no nominations were received through the recent by-election to fill the vacancy resulting from the resignation of Indigo Freya. So we have a mover for that. Thank you, Sophronia. And a seconder?
Yep.
Thank you, Claire. Do the verbal again. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against?
Aye.
Nobody against? No, the motion's carried. Thank you. Right, so we can either fill the vacancy by appointment or by another by-election. We have had some expressions of interest and have been provided with profiles, so we could assess these and consider them for appointment this evening. Would members like to provide with the filling of the vacancy by appointment? So, looks like we want to fill the vacancy by appointment. We need to state our criteria and weightings. We have applied for assessment as well as name the person we are going to appoint. We use the criteria officers proposed. So do I have a mover that the extraordinary vacancy will be filled by the appointment, and forgive me if I get this pronunciation wrong, Tohoa Taharunui, otherwise known as Jason, and the process and criteria which Tohoa was elected for appointment was by agreeing the following criteria for selection: consideration of experience, sector of the community that is not represented, balancing board composition, and people who have expressed an interest in the past to stand for the board, each with an equal weighing of 25%. Do I have a mover to accept that?
I'll move that.
Okay, thank you, Claire. And a seconder? Thank you, Sophronia. Although,
Mark,
sorry, Alan.
could we, just before you go to the vote, Karen, do you have anything to say or speak to the process of selection? Just for a clarification that everything's going.
Nothing to add. Nothing to add there. It's all good. I just wanted to clarify the appointee's full name, please.
It's Tohoa, and surname was Tahirunua. Now, I'm not sure that's what he put through on his CV profile. So if he has a middle name, I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. So all those in favour say aye.
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 Those against? Motion's carried. Thank you. One more big thing off the plate. Right, so do I have a mover to note that the decision of the Community Board will be publicly notified in accordance with the requirements of the Local Electoral Act 2001? And what that means is that we just put it out to the council, to the community, telling them what we've done. So, Sophronia, move that. Yes, and a seconder. Thank you, Garrick. Those in favour? Aye.
Aye.
Those against?
Aye.
The motion's carried. Thank you. Right, so our income and expenditure report, pages 16 to 20. Community Board members, are there any questions or clarification you would like to ask at this time? Okay, do I have a mover to receive the income and expenditure statements for 1st July 2019 to 31st March 2020?
Yep, I'll move that.
Thank you, Claire. Seconder? Ross, thank you. All those in favour, aye.
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 Those against, no. Awesome, thank you. The motion's carried. So financial assistant report. We'll now move on to item 9.3, the application for financial assistance report on pages 21 to 23. Sorry, I'm just catching up on this. Do we have a mover to receive that?
I can do that.
Thank you, Claire. And a seconder, please. Ross, thank you. About to call for a verbal vote again. All those in favour, aye.
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 Those
Aye.
against? The motion's carried, thank you. So this evening we have the 3 applications that have come back to us for consideration as they were previously deferred. Let's go through them in order. They appear here. The first is the application from the Wairarapa Wairarapa Citizens Advice Bureau. We deferred this application as we wanted officers to investigate a mechanism for the requests for funding for organisations that operate across the Wairarapa. Officers have indicated there is no restriction, so we need to weigh up whether we would prefer to spend our grant funding in the Featherston ward only, or if we would be happy to fund community groups who operate in other areas as well. With that in mind, what does everyone think about the grant application from the Wairarapa Citizens Advice Bureau? Do I have a mover?
How much are they asking for? Sorry, Mark?
After $350.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Can
Claire.
I?
Yes, Claire, sorry.
I would like to say, in these extraordinary circumstances and our fairly good balance of accounts for our community, I would like to support this on the understanding that next year it may not go ahead. But I do realise that our community groups are going to be very stressed at this time. And I think we do have the funds with which to support them. So I would like to support $350.
Okay, so when you say next year doesn't go ahead, you're saying next year they don't ask us again, is that?
No, I'm saying it doesn't mean that next year if they ask us, we're setting a precedent.
Oh, sorry, yes, okay. Okay, so we have a mover that we give them $350. Do we have a second? Oh, sorry, is that a question or Ross?
I just wanted to back up Claire here. I've seen the CAB in action. They are an invaluable resource for the disempowered, disenfranchised and impecunious. They provide legal assistance and support for people who need it most and can't afford those swinish lawyers that with their swinging fees. I really do support them. They operate across the region. Do they still have sessions in the community centre? I think they do. In any event,
sorry, Ross, carry on. Yep.
No, okay. I probably said enough. I fully support this. And as Claire said, sure, it's a year-by-year step, but at times like this, they're providing support that to some people is as important as food and clothing.
Yeah.
Agree. And I think their name says the thing, and quite often it is just advice. It can be sort of life-changing help, and sometimes it is just advice. And it's I think they're a great organisation myself too. So we have Claire move that $350 is granted. Do we have a seconder on that? Ross, thank you. So we're going to call for a vote again. All those in favour say aye.
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 Those against? Motion's carried. Thank you. So the next application is from the South Wairarapa Neighbourhood Support. We deferred the application as we sought clarification on why this additional funding wasn't sought from Council and the future of the coordinator role. SWNS has advised that the funding received from the SWDC covered wages, operating costs, and they did seek a higher level of funding from Council, but the full amount wasn't granted. They also let us know Rachel Clark was appointed to coordinator through to 30 June 2020, and that they are having ongoing conversations with SWDC about the role and the level of funding. With that in mind, what do members think about the application from South Wairarapa Neighbourhood Support?
Can you tell me what page it's on?
Hang on.
I'm sorry.
No,
I
that's
seem
all right.
to have lost it.
There was an addition sent through from Steph. 350.
Oh, okay.
Consider the application 20.
I believe it's on about page 25, Claire, of the draft pack that were provided in confidence to the board.
Okay. Sorry, I hadn't opened that. I was being a bit thick on that one.
Where is it?
So they only want $350? Oh, this
No,
is, sorry, this is
no,
citizens.
they're wanting $200.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think we give it to them. I'm feeling generous.
So, do I have a mover to grant the $200 to the South Wairarapa Neighbourhood Support?
Yep.
So Claire, do I have a seconder? Sophronia, call for a verbal vote. Those in favour say aye.
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 Those against? Motion's carried. Thank you. So the last, so the last application is Featherston Community Centre. We deferred this pending clarification of the ownership of the car park and the amount requested, which exceeds a limit of $500. Obviously, because of Paul's presentation earlier, I move that we defer this, and then obviously I don't know whether it just stays shelved, does it, Steph, or whether what Paul presented earlier overrides this. Is that how it would work?
Sorry, Matt. Yes, I think you need to defer it until there's a decision made on the way forward,
Okay.
and then that can come back for a decision.
Okay, so just so I just so I move that it gets deferred. Is that right? And then, sorry, just a page. And then we need a seconder on that. Is that right?
Yep. Happy.
Okay, and so I move it, and Garrick has seconded it. All those in favour?
Aye.
Nope.
Those against? Okay, that's been carried. Thank you. Awesome. So we're on to community funding arrangements. We'll now move to the item 9.4, the community funding arrangements reports on pages 24 to 30. Do I have a mover to receive the report?
Sorry, Matt, before we go too much further with that, can I just get to complete the sentence of what you're deferring the Featherston Community Centre application until? So I just need to complete and include that. So
it'll be just until it's decided whether the partnership agreement, I suppose, that Paul presented earlier is accepted. Is that?
I could say until pending investigation of the partnership agreement with the Featherston Community Centre.
Yes, please.
Or you could say until it is considered by council, because then you'll have a decision.
Okay. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Okay, so the 9.4.
Can I just ask for a clarification? Did somebody say that they abstained from that vote or didn't agree with it?
No, Ross abstained because he has been, Paul approached Ross for some legal advice, just for some, just legal advice more than anything. So it just put him in a bit of an awkward position. So he just abstained from or noted a conflict of interest.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so the community funding arrangements. Do we have a mover to receive that report? Sophronia, thank you. A seconder?
I'll second that.
Claire, thank you. All those in favour? Aye.
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 Those against? Motion's carried, thank you. So do we have any questions on that? So do I have a mover to approve the funding partnership agreement with Wairarapa Maths Association?
Yes, me.
Sorry, who's that? Oh, Claire. Yes, sorry, and then you, Ross. Yep, Claire.
It can be you, Garrick, if you want.
What do we got? Okay, so now, okay, Claire, you go first.
I was just going to say, if somebody else wants to do that, I don't mind.
To do what?
Move it. Doesn't matter.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, Claire moved it. And her seconder? Yep, Ross, thank you. Put a motion in. All those in favour say aye.
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 Those against? Motion carried, thank you. Okay, so community board terms of reference. Now move into item 10.6, the community board terms of reference report on pages 31 to 46. Much easier when you got bits of paper, I think, eh?
It is.
Just as you're old, we are. We'll now move on to, do I have a mover to receive that report?
Yes.
Yes, Claire, thank you. Seconder? Ross, thank you. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion's carried, thank you. Being asked to consider the revisions made to the terms of reference. Are there any questions or clarification you'd like to ask at this time before we debate this matter? Do I have a mover to recommend the council the adoption of the community board terms of reference?
I'm not quite sure if this is, are we going to go yes and then discuss it, or do we discuss it and then approve it?
Do I move to commend to the adoption?
You should be discussing it before approving.
No, we need to discuss, yeah. So
Okay.
Yep, no, sorry, carry on, Claire. I'm just...
Yeah, I asked at our annual plan meeting last night, who had the responsibility for maintaining the cycleways because the cycleway from Featherston to Cross Creek is in a very sad state. And I just wondered whether that, looking at that type of thing, we could apply for funds so that we could maintain that cycleway, if you see what I mean. Is that what this tour is meaning? Alex, instead of having to always go to council?
Well, it certainly does enlarge your remit with regards to consideration. In item 3, you do have a discretionary spend, but you had that previously anyway. It's certainly, if you felt that the council was unable to do some specific maintenance within your ward, you could either allocate beautification funds or funding towards that. Please stop me, Karen, if you're having a heart attack there and I can't see you. What it's trying to do is just get you more involved in matters that don't need to come back up to council. I'm pretty sure, Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, this was passed, but we're doing some revisions to this. Is it
Yes,
correct?
and I think the key change there is really just liaising with council officers if it's council-owned tracks. And I'm not quite sure, Claire, if the track you're referring to is a council-owned track. But if it is, then obviously council officers should be involved in any discussions through the board.
Yeah. So I mean, it's we are in the annual. It's an annual plan issue with regards to extra funding for trout. However, within the community board terms of reference, if you feel that there's a need for some immediate repairs outside of council, you can do that through your terms of reference. But you'd have to get obviously everyone else on board on that. So the only one that I would talk to, though, however, on the adjustments that have been made since it was passed, is the deferring of community civic awards. For awaiting further clarification on the legalities and how that process is going to be run. But it would be my intention that you have a significant part to play in recommending people for civic awards.
Can I just get a clarification on that? I remember bringing this up with you in one of your Tuesday sessions, and you were mentioning how you felt that community boards, if they saw things that maybe they could alleviate going through the council process, if I have it right, we could then put that into our annual plan. So we could say, could we please have X amount of dollars for maintaining this cycleway, which of course we'd still have to work through council on because of the nature of who does it. But would that be within our brief to put into our annual plan?
Yeah, I remember that conversation, Claire. It was more looking forward that if you saw something that you felt the community board should be involved in, then we can put that forward for the terms of reference to change. Additionally, if this community board wants to have a very active role in planning out over a year what they want to do, then as part of the annual plan process, they can put a submission through to increase the allocation of funds to community boards because you've got a plan and you want to do this. And then that can be discussed at a council level. So there's a couple of options there for you to play with.
Thank you. Thank you. That's great.
Yes, Garrick.
Could I just refer to page 42, 43, one of my pet subjects, which I know I'm sorry I'm harping on about, is Karkik. Would this give us facility for the community board to be more involved directly? So if individuals want to be involved in saving Karkik, do we operate through the community board, i.e. under page 42, 43, or is it going to be a council-controlled and council-managed asset? It just has a certain appeal if it's got a community board involvement, and would this give us a facility to do that?
Brilliant.
Alex,
Yeah, I think it's a council-owned asset. So in that respect, you should be looking at putting recommendations through the council with regards to any involvement.
Okay, well, yeah, okay, well, that's good. That's what I'm saying. It seems to me that there's actually a benefit here for us, so the community can become more directly involved, and that's a classic as far as I know. Thank you.
You do know that the historic places are actually looking at a survey? Have you seen that survey?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I'm aware that it's part of their consultation plan.
Yeah.
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 Okay, Ross. Yep.
Yeah, just my perspective on the role of community boards, and I've read through the terms of reference. I quite agree with them. I'm not entirely convinced that increased financial delegations are going to get us anywhere. Rather, they might end up being a little bit of a feedback loop where council delegates funds to a board who does things that they would otherwise recommend to council to be done, and it goes straight back to council officers to get it done. But with the dissolution of the borough councils and the amalgamation into South Wairarapa, this area retained its individual characters in the three community boards, and despite the prevalence of localism in local government, Very few councils across the country have actually picked up community boards. We're in a unique situation, and I see our role as that of bringing the flavour of the ward across the council board. So Garrick and I as councillors are sitting tonight as dyed-in-the-wool Featherstonians or Featherston Wardians. And yet, when we have to sit at the council, we are in a broader context. But the board proper, Mark, Sophronia, Claire and Tohora, are going to be the people that bring the voice of our area to council, and I think that is the most important thing they can do. I don't think the financials are that important, but it's representation and advocacy. And in that respect, I read through the terms of reference, and I was quite happy with them, but I defer to others who might have different views.
No, I agree, Ross, and I think one of the big pluses for this is, again, moving away from the whole funding money side of things. All due respect to council, I think the more that the community board is up front out and leading things, the more buy-in we're going to get from the community. Because as I say, you know, when it's the old, I'll get clarification or whatever from council, it's like, well, haven't we got a community board there that's representing us? So, and I think the more we can get involved leading it, then the more we're going to get buy-in from the community. So yeah, I think it's a great thing. Okay, so we've talked about that. Do I have a mover to recommend the council on the adoption of the community boards of reference?
Yep.
Claire, thank you. Have a seconder? Ross, thank you. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against? Motion carried, thank you. Hey. Chairperson's report. Now move on to item 11.1, the chairperson's report that has been tabled. Do I have a mover to receive that report?
Yep.
Sorry, Garrick, yes. Seconder?
Yep.
Claire, thank you. All those in favour? Aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried, thank you. So do I have a mover to approve the Featherston Community Board submissions to the SWDC Annual Plan 2020-21? Have a mover for that?
I'll move that, but can we add in just some of the comments that were made tonight? Because if you see what I mean about maybe Karkik having a bit more and maybe looking at some issues that maybe council's not covering in relationship to Featherston, like, because I must say that bicycle way, if it isn't government, because it was part of the full government thing which John Key set up, so that's why I wanted clarification. That has been in dire straits for quite a few years.
I don't know, I'd have to check. Steph, are we able to add to that submission?
Yes, I think you can add to it as long as you all agree with the amendments and get a mover and seconder on and approve the report. Yep.
Okay, so what is it you wanted to actually add, Claire? That the
I was just I think we need to have a little quick meeting just to work out if we want to just signal to council that maybe could the community board have more some funds to help, you know, maybe a few more funds to help with a few things that the council maybe not considering.
That's quite broad.
Okay. It's just because we haven't discussed it enough to be able to put anything on tonight, and maybe we just leave it this year and then set out in our strategic plan you know, what we're going to do, and maybe for next year we signal it.
Okay. Alex, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think if you were going to ask council for a change in the funding arrangements that currently sit, you'd be wanting to be supporting that with a very well thought out plan. And in order to do that with 5 days until the submissions close, you might be really pushing it and to get another extraordinary meeting to move that. So, yeah, just as a comment.
I think some of the things that we've asked for in the submission, or we commented about with the cycleways and trailways, Claire, and with the terms of reference.
Yes.
I think we sort of have that quite broadly covered to a degree, obviously. So I mean, moving forward, it's obviously that we just need to look at if that's what we're concerned with.
Can I just make a comment? There are just a few little spelling mistakes in the way we've written into the actual document. I think it's wheelie bins with an IE. That sounds terrible. I'll tell you what, we won't do this online, we'll do this offline.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Okay,
sorry,
so
I don't mean to be rude, I'm just saying it's just a few little spellings, yeah.
No worries. Okay, so do we have a mover to approve the Featherston Community Board submission?
Yep.
Garrick, thank you. Oh, sorry, yep. And seconder?
Yep.
Thank you, Claire. So all those in favour, say aye.
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 Those against? Motion carried, thank you. Okay, member report. We'll now move on to item 12.1, the member report from Claire on page 47.
Oh God, I lost it now.
Scrolling, here we go. Do we have a mover to receive that? Yes, Ross, thank you. And a seconder? Sophronia, thank you. All those in favour? Aye.
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 Those against?
Aye.
Motion carried, thank you. So Claire, did you want to speak to that report?
I just wanted to say I apologise this evening for being a bit late for this. We've just had a bit of a conflict with something else that Featherston Organics set up in relationship to Organic Week, which happened last week. However, it had to be postponed due to the situation, the COVID situation. So it's now going to be in September 2020. And last year in 2019, I went to a UN Sustainable Development Goal Conference. It outlined 17 goals that address sustainable development for local bodies. I put a link there to those things. These goals address the issues that will today impact on future generations. And I would like to say that I would like to provide further information at our next, maybe, or the first face-to-face meeting we could have, because it's so much easier. And so we can discuss that. So really, due to our situation, I think probably this is how we decided it would be best to write this motion, because it was actually put forward before we had lockdown. So it was going to be for that meeting that we had to cancel.
Yeah.
So it probably needs a little bit of a facelift and a little bit more detail, so that we can discuss it as a community board to see whether it would be okay to ask council if they could adopt this. Apparently at this conference, there were probably about 18 other councils who were going to be asked the same thing. And it does seem to really, really tie in with the situations that we are involved in today. And there's quite a lot of literature on how to achieve stuff. And it looks like a really good policy with which we can probably move forward on. after we get out of this stage.
Yeah, no, awesome. I think this whole COVID-19 things has made a lot of us realise a lot of things, and so this probably done you a favour, really,
Yeah.
with this sort of thing, because we've we realise as whānau, as communities, as a country, how well we can survive and look after ourselves. So this is sort of just another leg of that, I suppose. So awesome. So if that's it, that's us, everyone. Unless anyone's got anything they want to say or add, or Ross. Yep.
Yeah, just a point, Claire. At the thank you for that. At the last Planning and Regulatory Committee, a sustainability document was adopted in principle and put forward to council, which was ratified again in principle at the last council meeting. Correct me if I've got this a bit wrong, anybody else, but I think what you've done, and I haven't read the document, I'm sorry on the link, but I think the two should inform each other, and it will be something I'd like to discuss with you, and maybe we can have a wider dialogue about that.
Absolutely. I'm quite happy to come in and have a cup of coffee with you in your little booth next door.
Coffee, wouldn't that be wonderful?
Well, I don't think it's much heavier stuff sold next door, but otherwise I could always come down to your house.
Okay.
Okay, Suzanne?
Yeah, I think Ross has got this in one. I think ideally, Claire, if you work with officers in the first instance, and that could be Melanie Bath, the climate change officer, and then she can see if she can actually put a report together with you so that we can
that would be fantastic.
present to the community board some specific recommendations that you can present back to council. So that's the best way forward, and there are other ways forward if we can't work through that, but that's the first step that you should take.
Thank you, Suzanne. Could you please send me the details to get hold of Melanie for?
Sure, we'll do.
Thank you. That would be lovely.
I just think going across the 3 community boards would make much more sense, I think, too.
Yep.
All right, if that's everything, people, I just want to thank Suzanne and Steph for making this as smooth as it is, and giving me my script to actually run it all. Obviously, Marcus and Karen for coming through and helping us with the financial sides, and Marcus for always reporting the truth as a true journalist. But also you guys for, I know I've been on your case for this appointment thing, getting all that to us and making sure that happens and making that happen. So now we're back on the even keel with 4 members. Yeah, so all good. Did you want to say something, Alex?
Yeah, I'd just like to also thank the community board and councillors for the way the support and contribution they've had over the COVID lockdown level. And it's, it was a busy time there, and you guys really stood up to the plate. And so publicly, I'd like to thank you. And you did a very good job.
Awesome. So moving from there, now declare the meeting closed. Awesome.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, everyone.